You are welcome from that quick timeout. I hope you were able to, get something from our conversation with the IPMAN chairman there. Well, from everything he said, I believe we're going to see a difference by the end of today. We're going to see an end to fuel scarcity. I'm actually looking forward to that. Now, to our newspaper review, something that we've all been looking forward to. And obviously, you know that we don't do it alone. We have Dr. Theophilus Abba, Program Director, Daily Trust Foundation, as he joins us to review some headlines on the pages of today's newspapers. You're welcome, sir.
Good morning. We just hope that fuel scarcity will disappear today.
Yes, well, we had the IPMAN director here today, and he actually did say the fuel scarcity is actually going to disappear today. He said their tankers have started, they've loaded, and they've moved. So at least in Abuja, by the end of today, we should see a difference.
Because no more funny since Friday.
Yes, it's Friday. Actually, yesterday I saw a lot of people on the road. Places that usually have traffic didn't even have traffic because of the fuel scarcity. All right, starting off now, let's look at Daily Trust newspaper here. On the first page, we have pressure mounts on federal government to release Nnamdi Kanu. This is very bold right here in the middle. Only one option available for political agreement. Pressure mounts on federal government to release Nnamdi Kanu. Now we have NPC proposes, on the far left we have NPC proposes November 24th for national census. And then we also have Sultan NCSIA cautions political leaders against muscling traditional rulers. Okay. Again, bandits kill 1, abduct 22 in Katsina. Now we also have an infographics down there talking about the timeline of Nnamdi Kanu. I'm sure this is something you'd want to see. Then down we have Nigerian content creators eye Facebook's 150,000 naira per 10,000 views. I would also eye this. Sheikh Dahiru Bauchi clocks 100 years, and man climbs mast, threatens suicide over hardship. We also have right there, federal government plans waivers on rice, wheat, and others. All these you get on the front page of the Daily Trust newspaper. More of this, if you're looking for all of this, also right into the paper, you also get a lot more of this. Now let's look at Vanguard newspaper. Federal government up for duty-free import of rice, beans, wheat, and other grains. Now, come out to say it will have an impact on inflation. Will it really? A step in the right direction, said CPPE, and former Action Aid boss has reacted to it. We'll also see end of road for 9 billionaire kidnappers in Lagos State, there on the front page of Vanguard newspaper. On the lower left, court bars Rivers CJ clerk from accepting Amewule's impeachment notice. Now, still on fuel scarcity on Vanguard newspaper, it says NNPCL blames logistics flooding as petrol queues grow longer. But in an updated conversation which we had here, the IPMAN chairman said it's actually going to be better. And in sports, Team Nigeria ready to soar at Paris Olympic. Okay, we're looking forward to that. Well, that and more on Vanguard newspaper. If you're interested in any of the story, I'm sure Vanguard newspaper has more details on that. Now let's look at Punch. Still the same headline we've had on Vanguard. There's still a big bold right there on Punch, saying that federal government suspends food import duty, partners states on farming. Government launches 5-month duty-free import window for maize, rice, wheat, and others. And federal government partners military to cultivate arable lands and support smallhold farmers. Now, on the foreign scene right down there, the big picture you're seeing on Punch, we have outrage as Russia missile kills 33 in Ukraine children hospital. Now, something new, still on Punch, local airlines project 980 naira per liter aviation fuel meet Dangote. We spoke about aviation fuel here with our guest, and he spoke about Dangote refinery having a little review on all of it, but 908 naira per liter. Well, if you want to get more details on that, do well to check out the Punch newspaper. Now let's look at the Guardian newspaper. Something quite different. Unfunded deficit hits 1 trillion naira in 9 months, worsens federal government's fiscal position. This is 2023 budget performance outlook on the front page of The Guardian. Now, on the lower left, federal ex-generals rather tax federal government on new minimum wage demand, cuts in governance cost to avert crisis. Then still on The Guardian, Obi urges anti-graft agency to focus on grand theft. And student loan, NANS gives tertiary institution 48 hours to submit data. Still on Guardian, fear over illicit flow to bank as shareholders struggle with rights issues, and a 72-year-old man bags life in jail for defiling a minor. So on The Guardian, we have man climb masts in Abuja to protest over economic hardship. Well, these are the headlines we have for you this morning. But now let's get into the conversation. The one that caught my attention, which I'd love to hear Dr. Abba's thought on pressure on federal government to release Nnamdi Kanu. What's your take on that?
Well, the issue of Nnamdi Kanu has been in Nigeria since 2015, and this agitation for Biafra, and as we know, he's the leader of IPOB, but it's actually we're using a franchise, because since the 60s, through 70s, through 80s, through 90s, we have had different persons come in different guise, insisting on independence for this the Igbo part of Nigeria. Now, in the case of Nnamdi Kanu, if you look at the sequence of activities, when he was arrested, because frequently he was making publicity against government, broadcasting anti-government statements, and for those who have visited his website, all the contents were anti-government, and if you listen to some of the even the messages that were sent out, they were all anti-government. And I think the government decided to arrest him. Of course, he was granted bail, and I think in 2019 or so, 2017 or 19, there was this issue of an attack at his residence. The military attacked his residence, and from there he disappeared. He was brought back, through some means to come and face justice. Now, the fact is that we expected that by now, the judiciary ought to have concluded, or concluded the case in such a manner that we'll know whether this man is guilty of terrorism or not. Now, those who investigated ought to have provided the kind of evidence that you need to either jail him or to free him. Because if you accuse anyone of terrorism, you must have evidence to prove that this guy was a terrorist. And if you have the evidence you present to the court will decide. But we have discovered that a court even, acquitted him, of the charge of terrorism. The federal government appealed. Then the Supreme Court said he had to face the charges. So Nigerians are looking forward to a conclusive, decision on Nnamdi Kanu. But we have discovered that there have been interventions from different quarters. The Southeast governors have met the Tinubu, House of Reps members, senator. They are saying, "Look, release this man." Now, I'm thinking that, you see, we must get to a point where we say, "Look, Nigeria is one." The issue of agitation, year in, year out. The issue of, people coming to say, to challenge government, year in, year out. There has to be a way of bringing an end to it. Okay,
so do you think the government should mount to this pressure quickly?
Well, it's a political decision that has to be made.
Okay.
Now, if the government is going to release him from prison or from detention, he's not yet in prison, then there has to be a decision.
All right.
I expect the Southeast leaders to say, well, these are the assurances we are giving to you, the federal government, that after, when this guy is released, the agitation in the Southeast, because right now, a lot of people are doing all sorts of terrible things in the Southeast. The economy of the Southeast is crumbled, all in the name of fighting for Nnamdi Kanu.
Yes.
Now, so we have to have that assurance that, look, this is the solution to the crisis. We don't want a situation whereby after releasing him, issues will come up again.
All right.
So I'm thinking that there has to be a concrete political solution that will quell agitations in the southeast.
All right. Well, let's watch and see. Nigeria is all we see it happen. We watch it and we see the outcome.
No, but the important thing is to project.
Project. Okay.
There has to be a way of projecting what can happen.
All right.
Where a decision is taken. Now you do the risk analysis. If he has to make a commitment, something that will ensure that he doesn't go back to the trenches to say he's fighting government.
All right, talking about decision being taken, federal government suspend food import duties and partner states on farming. Now, is this a decision, a step in the right direction, being that we're seeing food inflation in the country?
Actually, it's one of the things that we've advocated in the last few months, because we discovered that there's food scarcity. The scarcity we are facing now, or the high cost of food items we are facing now, is not exactly because of the removal of subsidy on naira or the devaluation, subsidy on fuel or the devaluation of the naira. No, it is because the food is scarce. If you go, to yam market, you cannot find yam to buy. If you go and look for rice, you can't get rice to buy. If you are looking for beans, you cannot find beans. So it's the little quantity that marketers or traders they have to hike the price, because if they sell that to you and you go back to the source, they'll be able to get enough food items to replenish. So the step that government has taken is actually the right step to take. That means you open the borders. That means you allow food to come in so that the prices of food items can collapse. But then, this is my emphasis. You see, importing food is not the solution. It's not the final solution. Because the reason why we have scarcity is not because Nigerians cannot farm, but it's because of the state of insecurity.
Yes.
Now, we have to complement this importation with other decisions. We have to reclaim our farmlands from bandits, which is something that government needs to do urgently. In the past, it was like, we survive. We arrest some, we don't arrest some, we sign agreement, we do this. But now it is existential. That means that if we don't reclaim this farmland, the country will suffer. Now, if government is going to import food, of course, we're going to use our foreign reserve to pay for those food items. That's number one. Secondly, we have irrigation facilities in Nigeria that are lying fallow. They are not utilized. We need to revive them. Thirdly, there's what we call yield per hectare. Now we need to bring in seeds, seedlings that can yield more per hectare. We cannot be using the old seed to farm. You are planting corn, the seed that your father, your grandfather used in the 60s or 70s is what you are using. There are improved seedlings in all, of all crops that we produce in Nigeria. So government must encourage, farmers. They must make them available to farmers at a rate that they can afford, so that they can produce more per hectare. And then inputs. Fertilizer cannot be what it is today, and you expect farmers to cope. The price of fertilizer has to be brought down. Possibly government should even subsidize, the cost of fertilizer and other inputs that are needed for farming. So a good step, government is taking a good step by saying, we are opening the border to import food. Of course, from what we discovered, rice can be cheaper as maybe 20,000 per bag if it's brought from Kanu into Nigeria, without all the hassles. Maybe as cheaper as maybe 30,000 at most. So if we import rice and we can buy rice even at 40,000, it will calm down nerves. But you have to buy rice for 80,000 per bag. It's not affordable.
Now, talking about buying rice for itself and the unaffordability of it, we see ex-generals tasking the federal government on new wage demand to cut in cost of governance to avert crisis. What's your take? We've spoken about cutting cost of governance for a long time now, and the ex-generals are coming to talk about it. Do you think cutting cost of governance and response to new minimum will actually solve this food crisis or pacify Nigerians to an extent?
Of course, cutting cost of governance is actually the way to go.
But would the money be used?
Well, you have to redirect the money. I'll give you an example. Now, in 1999, I'll give you an example. The money that was spent on the National Assembly was 2.2 billion, 1999. In 2015, the money that was spent on the National Assembly to run the National Assembly, the senators and all those, was about 150 billion which was a lot of money. But in 2024, the money that will enter into the National Assembly that they will spend is 354 billion. It is a whole lot of money. If you reduce the cost of governance and redirect the money into the payment of minimum wage, it will help.
Okay.
Now, you are talking about buying a presidential jet. Well, you say, oh, the president must be secure. But is it every country that has a presidential jet? It's not every country. You mustn't buy a presidential jet. If you look at the cars that lawmakers are driving, 160 million naira car per lawmaker, it is sinful. It's a lot of money. So if you go around and say, look, let's call even the security vote that governors, waste. Let me use the word waste. Because, you see, they just spend the money in the name of security. They don't give account for it.
Right.
If you prune it, it will help. I'll give you an example of what happened in Kenya now. After the protest in Kenya, what the government is doing is to say, okay, look, we are going to reduce the salaries and the allowances of political office holders. And he started doing it seriously. He didn't talk about it, he started implementing it in order to reduce the cost of governance. So, you see, if we reduce the cost of governance, sincerely, we'll be able to pay the minimum wage.
All right. All right, thank you so much, Dr. Theophilus. Unfortunately, I don't know, this our newspaper review always seems quite short because we have a lot to say.
It's okay.
For such a short period of time. Unfortunately, we've run out of time. And thank you so much for joining us. We look forward to having the best, cutting cost of governance, having living wage that's appropriate for Nigerians, curbing protests. We don't have to wait for Nigerians to go on the streets before a solution is being found to whatever it is they are clamoring for. The government should be responsive and attentive enough to the needs of Nigerians. Well, having said that, we've come to the end of Daybreak today here on Trust TV. Thank you so much for joining us. And don't forget, Nigeria is ours. We have only one Nigeria. So let's learn to do the right thing by ourselves and by our nation. Do have a great day. God bless Nigeria. I am Lilian Okazi.